Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. You have Bhagavad Gita?
Yes, bro.
Okay. So, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for hosting us tonight. I was asked to speak on the topic of the dynamic of spiritual growth or spiritual advancement. What does it mean and how it works in practical sense. So I will read one important verse from Bhagavad Gita to start this discussion. This is the third verse from the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is called Most Confidential Knowledge. In this verse, anyway, I'll tell you what is there in this verse. Let's chant it together. Ashradadhanaha Purushaha Dharmasya Asya Parantapa Aprapya Mam Nivartante Mrityu Samsara Vartmani Ashradadhanah Purusha Ashradadhanah Purusha Dharmasya Parantapa Dharmasya Parantapa Aprapyamam Nivartante Mrityu Samsara Vartmani Ashradadhanah Purusha Dharmasya Parantapa Aprapyamam Nivartante Mrityu Samsara Vartmani. Word by word translation. Ashradadhanaha, those who are faceless. Purushaha, such persons. Dharmasya, toward the process of religion. Asya, this. Parantapa, O killer of the enemies. Aprapya, without obtaining. Mam, me. Nivartante, come back. Mrityu, of death. Samsara, in material existence. Vartmani, on the path. Translation. Those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me, or conqueror of enemies. Therefore they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. Purport. The faithless cannot accomplish this process of devotional service. That is the purport of this verse. Faith is created by association with devotees. Unfortunate people, even after hearing all the evidence of Vedic literature from great personalities, still have no faith in God. They are hesitant and cannot stay fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. Thus, faith is the most important factor for progress in Krishna consciousness. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said that faith is the complete conviction that simply by serving the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna one can achieve all perfection. That is called real faith, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Yathatarurmula Nishechanina Tripyanti Tat Skanda Bujopashakah Pranopaharach Chayathendriyanam Tathaiva Sarvarhanam Achyuteja. By giving water to the root of a tree, one satisfies its branches, twigs, and leaves, and by supplying food to the stomach, one satisfies all the senses of the body. Similarly, by engaging in the transcendental service to the Supreme Lord, one automatically satisfies all the demigods and all other living entities. Therefore, after reading Bhagavad Gita, one should promptly come to a conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. One should give up all other engagements and adopt the service to the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead. If one is convinced of this philosophy of life, that is called faith. I will stop here and let me try to speak something about this verse. Yantah pravishi mama vachi mimam prasuptam sanjivayata kila shakti darak swadham nanyamscha hasta charana shravanatva gadim pranannamo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam narayanam namaskritya naram cheva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayat Svasyastu vishvasya kalach prasidatam deyantu bhutani shivam mithodya manascha badram bhajata dadokshaje aveshyatam no matir apyahaitu kim. Okay. Hare Krishna. So, I will try to explain what is the difference between the conception of faith, which is there in Vedic tradition, in quote-unquote Hindu traditions, and the Western understanding of what faith is and why faith is so necessary. It's actually quite clear if we take the context of this verse of Bhagavad Gita, because in the previous verse, in the second verse of this 9th chapter, which is one of the most important chapters of Bhagavad Gita, if not the most important, being the central chapter of the whole Bhagavad Gita, containing very confidential knowledge. In the second verse, in the previous verse of this text, Krishna glorifies the knowledge which he is about to explain to Arjuna. He already told him so many other things. He told him how to control the mind. He told him about karma yoga. He explained how karma yoga gradually purifies the heart. When a person acts without attachment to the fruits of his action, becomes detached and acts as out of duty. He explained how the purification of the heart invokes knowledge. And by knowledge, Krishna means spiritual knowledge, not just, some information which may be there in the brain. He means the knowledge or real understanding that I am eternal. The knowledge of eternity, the understanding that I am soul, spiritual by nature. And this is the result of purification of the heart, which comes as a result of performing our duties perfectly. And then he explained when this understanding is invoked, and when the person clearly understands that my life is not finished with this temporary span allotted to this body, then he can go deeper by using Ashtanga Yoga, which he describes in the 6th chapter, by using this mystical process of going deeper and deeper and deeper into the consciousness, into the nature of consciousness, by gradually withdrawing one's consciousness from the external world and putting it inside and going into the depths of this experience. And then he explained how to see God everywhere, how to connect with God, and how to understand that the source of everything is already here. He is not some mythological person sitting on the cloud. Of course, if he would be sitting on the cloud in Denmark, he would comfortably sit most of the year because there is a lot of clouds here. But the idea is, is not that he is some remote person somewhere there, sadly looking at what people are doing around, but he is already here. His presence is there, and it's being felt by somebody who tuned in his presence, who can understand through the verses of Bhagavad Gita, who can understand how the... Oh, okay. Okay. So what shall I do, like this? Yes. Okay. Wow. Sounds horrible. Okay. I have to get used to it. Make it a little... Okay. Okay. And then he also explained in the previous chapter, in the 8th chapter, he explained what happens at the moment of death. Very important question, or very important understanding, very important concept, how the soul leaves the body and how the soul enters another body. And now he comes to this 9th chapter, and before starting the important subject matter of the 9th chapter, Krishna glorifies this subject matter to make us hear attentively, like I did in the beginning of this class. So this is important. I'm about to say something important, and by glorifying the subject matter of this chapter, Krishna says that this is a very secret knowledge. Secret knowledge means Rajaguhyam. It's the most secret knowledge because it's not easily revealed to us. Because it is something which is not even revealed in many scriptures. All scriptures speak about God, all scriptures speak about some relationship with God, what we're supposed to do, but Krishna is speaking about love, about very intimate relationship with God. And this is not a very common topic. So he says that first, that it's very purifying. It's the highest subject matter. It's very secret subject matter. But then he says, very important thing, Pratyakshavagamam dharmyam susukam kartuma vyayam. This subject matter has to be experienced. It's not a matter of theoretical knowledge. It's not a matter of intellectual understanding. This is something which you have to know practically. Oftentimes, people think that religion is something one has to believe. Krishna, from the very beginning, says, no, it's an experiential discipline. Any branch of Vedic knowledge you take, nowhere it will be said that this is just for your intellectual understanding. Everywhere there will be some theory spoken there. There will be understanding how, why, but then there will be attached practice because you ultimately have to get certain experience. You have to really understand it yourself. So any pursuit of Vedic knowledge implies applying it in practice and understanding all these truths in your own life. But then in the next verse, in the 3rd verse which we read, all of a sudden Krishna says, Ashradadana purusha dharmasya sya parantapa aprapya mam nivartante mrityu samsara vartmani. But you have to have faith in it. It seems to be a contradiction. Because in the previous verse he says, there is no need to face. There is no need to believe in anything else. You have to experience it. And in the next verse he says, no, you have to believe. If you don't believe, you will be doomed. Almost like our fellow religionists who are spread all over Western world. So, but there is a difference. And the difference is exactly could be understood if we understand this dynamic or the apparent contradiction between these two words, between these two verses. So the contradiction, actually there is no contradiction. The riddle is very simple. What Krishna wants to say is that yes, you will have to have experience. Faith is not all in all. It's not something which will carry you till the end. You will have to have experience which will be the driving force, but initially to concentrate your mind on this pursuit, on this path, you have to have faith. Faith is just an initial prerequisite to distract our mind from other pursuits and concentrate on this path. Because otherwise, we will be distracted by so many different goals, and we will try to achieve this goal and that goal, and we will never experience something which Krishna is promising to us. So faith is actually not necessary in bhakti. In practice bhakti, you don't need to believe in anything because bhakti is independently powerful. You may not believe in the efficacy of the holy name. I personally, when I started chanting the holy name, I didn't know who Krishna is. I read Bhagavad Gita in a very vague translation, and I had no clue. I decided to make an experiment. I didn't believe that holy name is not different of God, and I didn't believe in all this complicated theology which I have been preaching now for 40 years. But in the beginning, I just decided to make an experiment, how it will feel. I decided to chant it again and again and again. And because I knew from my previous experience that if I repeat the same stuff again and again and again, it will become very boring after a very short while. So I decided to try if there will be any difference or not. And apparently, since I have been chanting for 43 years now, there is some difference between my previous experience and this experience. So in one sense, there is no need to have faith in the processes of bhakti because these processes are powerful. They have the power to give us some experience, like I remember very vivid and very deep, amazing experience which was there in the beginning of my spiritual journey and which happens every now and then. But faith is very much necessary if we want to practice the devotional service or this dharma, as Krishna says, this dharma, this path, this dharma means this nature of ours. Because actually the spiritual inclination is in everyone's heart. Everyone has some spiritual inclination. We all have some spiritual quest, some desire to understand something deeper. So, but if we want to follow this path purely, then faith is necessary. Because if there is no faith, then we will naturally be distracted into many other things, and the goal will not be clear, and we will practice bhakti or bhakti yoga approximately in the similar way as many other people in this world practice their particular religion. You know, the religion is nothing special. So many people believe in something. And faith is nothing special. So many people have faith, so many people have blind faith, so many people believe in some dogmas. This is nothing special is there. But usually people, for them, the face is something which they do just in case it works. They don't really believe that God is there, but, because they're fearful inside. Just in case it works, let's do it just, to be safe. Let's go to the church, let's put some little money, luckily they don't ask for much, so a little bit is no problem. But the benefit may be great. And most of the people, they of course, they approach God, they try to address God in some difficulties, but usually it's a very impure attempt to enter into relationship with God. Very insincere or very selfish attempt to enter into relationship with God. Please give me something, and then I'll do something in return. It's basically the attempt to make a good business deal with God. I'll give you 10 crowns, and you will give me the eternal life in the heaven. Good deal. No problem. So, I was recently, somebody told me a joke. It's a very nice joke. There was one Catholic, and he was a bad Catholic. He didn't go to church. He didn't do any. He didn't fast on the fasting days. He didn't pray. But at one point, he was getting a little older, and every now and then the thought about God would come to his mind. And at one point, it was dark, and he desperately needed to go into some supermarket, and the whole parking lot was packed, and there was no place in the parking lot. And at this moment, he remembered about God, and he started praying. Oh, my dear God, please help me to find a parking lot, because if you do this, I will pray, and I will go to church, and I will do everything, and he very sincerely within his heart, he prays and prays and prays. And all of a sudden there is, the thunder, and, the beam of light is from the heaven, and there is an empty parking lot just shown to him by this beam of light. And immediately he says, never mind, I already found one. That's usually the extent people can go. So Krishna doesn't mean this. When he speaks about faith, he doesn't mean this. What he means here, when he says Ashradadhanah Purusha Dharmasya Syaparantapa, it may sound similar. If somebody doesn't have faith, then dharmasya in this path, then aprapyamam nivartantem rityu samsara vartmani. He basically says something which is very much common sense. He says, if you don't have firm faith, shraddha, and shraddha, I will explain a little later, that it's actually not a very correct translation of Sanskrit word shraddha if we translate it as a faith. But still, for the time being, it's okay. So he basically says what he says, that if you don't have faith in this path, then you will not be determined to follow this path. And then you will not reach the goal of this path. You will be doubtful, and you will be hesitant, and you will just, do it just in case, as I said. And the goal of this path is very high. That's what Krishna said in the previous verse. He says that this is Rajavidya Rajaguhya. This is the secret of the king of all knowledge. The very important knowledge, and it's very secret knowledge, so it's not cheap. To achieve something which is not cheap, it implies sacrifice from from your side. If you just do it like this, you will not achieve what you're supposed to achieve. So there is no contradiction between the previous verse and the verse which we read. The faith is very much necessary in any endeavor, in any pursuit. The faith is very much necessary to achieve the goal of it. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. If we're talking about, if we want to study science, if we don't really believe that we need it and that we really want to achieve some lofty goal of this science, then we will not achieve it. And Krishna says, if you don't believe, no problem, you will return. Krishna doesn't say that you will go to hell. Never Krishna said, well, he speaks in one place about hell. In the 16th chapter, where he speaks about demoniac people who are really bad, he speaks that, they go to hell. But here he only says, Mrityu samsara vartmani. They are coming back to this path of birth and death. They will be born again, and then they will die again. They will not change their ontological position. They will remain in this world where death is the law, but death is inevitable. So that's what Krishna says. He doesn't condemn them. He just warns us. He says, if you want to achieve this very important goal, you have to have some faith in the beginning, some shraddha in the beginning. Then it will help you to achieve this goal. And then you will change your status. You will not have to be born again, and you will not have to die again, and you will not have to go through the hurdles of old age and disease, which is all the beautiful features of this material existence. So now let's talk a little bit about faith, because faith, or Shraddha, Sanskrit word faith, which is translated in English as faith. As I said, English translation of Sanskrit is never correct. It just cannot be correct because it's a completely different language which reflects a completely different worldview. And therefore, it's difficult to find the exact equivalent of Sanskrit words. And that's why Srila Prabhupada put Sanskrit in his translation, left Sanskrit in his translation. And moreover, very interestingly, if you noticed, even in this verse, he translates the word in Sanskrit in word by word in one way and puts something different in the translation of the verse to give us the understanding that this particular word in Sanskrit have different dimensions. Sometimes people are bewildered why it is. They try to, if it's translated in word by word, it should be also repeated in translation. No, it doesn't have to be repeated in translation, because there are different aspects of the same word, and Srila Prabhupada wants to give us more holistic understanding of the meaning of the word. So, yeah, and I told today that, do you know how many words are there in English? It's around 1,200,000. So it's a very huge language. Actually, no Englishman knows all the words of English language. It's a very big, In Russian, there's hardly maybe 400,000 words. In English, it's much more. Do you know how many words are in Sanskrit? Can you guess? Okay. Any other ideas?
Because you can create words in Sanskrit, it's unlimited.
Well, if you leave aside all these compounds, we don't count compounds, only if you take all the permutations of the words. There is around 1 trillion words in Sanskrit. 1 trillion. It's million times more than in English. So naturally, there is no possibility to find the exact equivalent for all the Sanskrit words by using language which is by definition less developed and less and conceptually much more simple. Anyway, so the word Shraddha is very interesting. Shraddha, different yogis, acharyas of the past, they give different definition of this word. Etymological definition, how it was derived. They say that it comes from the hrit, from the root hrit, which means heart. English word heart is coming from this hrit. It's something in which you invest your heart. Or Shraddha means something which helps you to invest your heart into something, which helps you to concentrate on certain endeavors and doing something. But Vyasadeva, commentator of Patanjali Muni, great yogi, he explains also that Shraddha is a very important preliminary step in yoga, in any yoga, and including Ashtanga yoga, including all these asanas and pranayamas. Again, Shraddha is there. Shraddha, then Virya, then Smriti, then Samadhi, then Pragya. He explains this gradual development of spiritual advancement on the path of yoga. So again, the beginning of Shraddha. But Vyasadeva, his commentator of Patanjali Muni, says, what is Shraddha? He says, Shraddha is Manah Prasadam. It's the clarity of the mind. Very interesting definition. Shraddha, again, is not just some blind faith. You have to believe, otherwise you go to hell. No, that's not the concept. It's certain clarity of your goal, clarity of your consciousness, clarity of your mind, or peacefulness of the mind. There's something which comes to you when you're peaceful and you understand this is the meaning of life. This is the way I want to go. This is the goal I want to achieve. Something which comes to you in clear minds, in the clear moments. Because oftentimes we are not very clear in our mind. And Shraddha is this elevated state of consciousness where you clearly see this is what you should do, where you clearly feel the internal calling. There is a calling of the soul, and the soul is saying, you have to find. Death is not normal. You shouldn't take it for granted. And we all know that there's something unnatural in death. Even though it seems to be the most natural thing in the world, still there is some resistance, some revolt against it. So that's why Vyasadeva, commenting on this Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, he says, this is the clarity of the mind which nurtures the yogi on the path, which gives us the strength to follow this path. Because this path, any path of yoga is not easy. Although Krishna says, Susukam Kartuma Vyayam, this is a very easy path, no problem. Just do it, and sometimes Prabhupada says, just eat and sing some songs and you will be there in no time. That's all some little advertisement tricks. The path of yoga is not easy because there are internal impediments. Yes, there is a calling of the soul. Yes, we know that there is a need. We know that there is a spiritual need that the soul needs. The soul will never be satisfied no matter how happy you are in this material environment. The soul needs more. the soul yearns for something more. But because it's not easy, and because the realization doesn't come immediately, then we need face in all different stages of our spiritual journey, because there will be different junctions, crises. Sometimes we may have doubts. Like a couple of days back, there was this nice person, Lalitinath Prabhu introduced to me, one nice journalist, and we were speaking with him. And his main question was, do you have some doubts or not? And this question is answered by Srila Jiva Goswami. He says there are different kinds of doubts. Uh, you may have doubt that God exists. You may have doubt that, He is like this, how He is explained, everything. And then you may have doubt in your own ability to achieve Him. That's a very common doubt, because sometimes we try and it seems like we go nowhere. We just stuck somewhere and nothing happens, and there is no progress. So many doubts may be there. And Srila Jiva Goswami says, yes, on this stage this doubt is dissipated, and on this stage this doubt is dissipated. And he says that there is a stage when all the doubts are dissipated, no doubts anymore. This is the stage when you see God in front of you, face to face. Not before that. Before that, doubts may be there, should be there. And we should not really try to hide these doubts and pretend that we don't have doubts. And he was very surprised when he said, yes, I'm a doubting person. I'm generally doubting person. I don't take things on a blind face, and that's why I'm here and not somewhere else. That's why I am following this path, because this path encouraging me to doubt, encouraging me to be honest and to see inside, and to and at the same time, not viciously doubtful, not doubtful in a bad way, but at the same time, you need to have faith to overcome these doubts. Not to blind yourself, but to overcome these doubts. And therefore, Vyasadeva, when he explaining this notion of Shraddha, he says that Shraddha is like mother. And mother is feeding her little son by milk, by the breast milk or whatever, and giving him strength. And that's exactly what Shraddha is doing to a little yogis, and we are very little yogis. We are, kindergarten yogis who just started their journey, and we need some nourishment. We need some strength to follow this and to reach the end. So, and that's the understanding, that's the notion of Shraddha. And Krishna says, if you don't have this, you will not achieve the end, naturally. Sooner or later, you will be deviated from the path, and you will come back to this mrityu samsara vartmani, to this, to this rotation, to this vicious circle of birth and death, trying to find some happiness in this world, being frustrated, again trying to find after some, little relief. So that's what Krishna says here when he speaks about Shraddha. And Srila Prabhupada, while explaining this concept of Shraddha, he makes a very important point. He says that the source, the root cause of Shraddha is association. There is no other source of our Shraddha. Therefore, in Vedic culture, again and again and again, the stress, the emphasis is there on sadhu sangha. you have to be in the association of sadhus, you have to be in the association of spiritually advanced people, not because they may give you blessings. Usually the normal understanding is that we come to a sadhu and we ask for ashirvad. And, which ashirvad? I know better. You give me ashirvad, and I will not disclose. Give me some blessings. So that's usual understanding. But the greatest blessing which a spiritually elevated person can give is the gift of faith, which will nourish you on this path of spiritual advancement and will help you to realize your eternal spiritual nature, eternally happy, blissful spiritual nature. So what can be greater blessings? And Srila Prabhupada, he stresses this because, by reading books, you will never be able to develop proper faith. Actually, reading of the books was not really encouraged in Vedic culture. There's so many books in Vedic culture. But what is always being encouraged in Vedic culture? Hearing, not reading. Because when you're reading, there is a very big difference between reading and hearing. When you're reading with your own mind. And you more or less, you only can believe when you're reading a book which is confirmed by your own experience. You can only extract or take advantage of something which is written in the book if it is already confirmed by your experience. You hardly get anything new, maybe some little idea here and there on the intellectual level. But if something which is far beyond your experience, you will just reject it. You will not even notice it. You will not be able to take advantage of it. It's there in the book. But then, 15 minutes later after you read it, you already forget it because it was not confirmed by yourself. But when you are hearing, something much more different and much more profound may happen with you. Because hearing means you're sharing the experience with somebody who is speaking. You are not only relying on your own experience, you are taking advantage of the experience of somebody who is speaking. He is speaking from his experience, and therefore he is able to speak with conviction. Conviction is a result of experience. And you are moved more profoundly, even though you may read the same thing. You may read many times, I'm not this body. And you may even hear many times, I'm not this body. You may even like this concept, I'm not this body. And still you forget this concept the moment when you're not in contact with this concept. But then when somebody says, you're not this body, and you're, oh yeah, right. Yeah, that must be true. So this kind of moment can only come when you change your belief status, your belief level, when your belief goes little deeper, only when you hear somebody speak. And therefore, and Zoom is not good for this. Of course, nowadays, the most sadhu sangha takes place in Zoom. I think there should be also some special program. How you call anyway? Once I spoke with Guru Maharaj and I asked him, "What are you doing?" He said, "I am consumed." Always there in Zoom. But it's not the same. it's actually not the same, and therefore so much emphasis is there in Vedic culture. You come to a sadhu, and there are many stories. I will not tell. There is a famous story about the thief who just heard half of the sentence from the sadhu because his father forbade him to listen to sadhus. His father was a very good thief, and his father said, "My dear son, if you want to be a good thief, never listen to a sadhus, because if you listen to them, your business will just be failure." So, but somehow or other, by accident, he heard the phrase, and this phrase, half of the phrase of the sadhu, and this phrase saved him. That's a famous story. I will not repeat it. But again, the idea here is that very important, because if, we all have Shraddha, we all have faith, we all believe in something. It would be very presumptuous and actually outright wrong to say that I don't believe in anything. Krishna himself says in the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Shraddhamayayam Purusha. Purusha, the soul, the living entity, the particle of consciousness, consists of Shraddha. Why? Because we can never have the complete experience. We are tiny by nature, and we will have to, even to exist in this world, we will have to believe so many things. Like I've never been to China, so I believe that China exists. I don't have this experience, and I don't have so many other experiences. I have to believe that people went to moon. I have to believe that that Putin exists. I don't know. Maybe I'm an illusion. I would be happy if I was. So, but Shraddhamayayam Purusho, the idea here is that we believe. Every one of us believes. Faith, again, is nothing special. But if we want to believe in God or in this path, in the path of bhakti, then association with those people who are more experienced is a must, because by listening, by hearing them, we will be able to gain a lot of experience, or we will be able to feel little of their experience, a fraction of their experience. This is how our mind is working. When we are in close proximity with somebody, especially if we open the heart to this person, if we have the proclivity, if we understand that here I am and I don't have to put my false ego between him and mine. Usually when we associate with people, we have this protecting shield of the false ego, which protects my worldview from intrusion. When we associate with people, we have this protection, and we don't allow people to go too deeply. When in Vedic culture the stress is there in the sadhu sangha, it is said that while coming there, you have to come disarmed. You have to put aside your false ego. You have to be really open to a miracle which may happen. You have to be really open to a possible change, because there is no other possibility for change but the association of saintly people. We may hear, as I said, we may hear them speak, and the effect of these words, even though, again, they may not say anything new to us, but the effect of their words may move us so profoundly, and actually push us in the direction in which we never even dreamed to go. Because it's a very drastic turn in our life. if we start seriously trying to practice spiritual life, it's a revolution in our life. For that, we need a push. If there is no push, if there is no extra impetus, and the push is there, what is the nature of this push? We see the spiritual person, the person who is practicing spirituality, and we see in him something which is different from all other people. We see some light or some happiness which he exudes, or some enthusiasm which he exudes, or some other qualities which are not normal, which are not typical. We see a completely different species of life in one sense. Not completely different, 2 legs, 2 hands, the same, 2 ears also. But still, if we open our heart, we could feel the difference. We could feel that there is something different in this person. I remember that happened long ago when I was just, making my first steps in this spiritual practice. It was way back in Soviet Union. It was probably 84 or 85. So, most of you were not even born at that time. So you were in some other bodies. So, it was Soviet Union, far away, very strange country where religion is not allowed. And we were secretly still neophyte, very enthusiastic and sometimes fanatical neophytes. We were trying to speak with other people, explain why we're doing this. And, of course, it was very also risky, and it would create some adrenaline boost in our, bodies, which is also good for young people. So I remember we were kind of making friends with one family of some business people, and they were very simple people in a sense, not very intellectual people. And of course, at that time, nobody in the Soviet Union, hardly anyone knew English. Nobody could understand English because, if you knew English, you would be potentially a dangerous person because you could get some information which you're not supposed to have. So, and somehow or other, we got a videotape. At that time, videotapes were, this big and this thick, and the rare people had some video players. And this videotape was with lecture of Harikesh Maharaj at that time, who was, of course, speaking in English. And he was speaking something. And because this business, quote-unquote, business people, they had video player, and video player were very rare in the Soviet Union. I came to their house just to watch this video. I knew some English. So I played this video, and in the video, a man dressed like this, sitting in some, chair like this, is speaking something in English, and I listened, tried to understand intellectually. And the housewife, very simple lady, she stood there, and she watched for at least 40 minutes without understanding a word was going on. I asked her, why do you watch this? You don't understand anything. There's nothing happening there. There's no action there. There's no, suspense. There's no romance, nothing. She said, there is something special. I cannot just take my eyes from this person. He magnetized me. Somehow or other, I'm attracted. And I was surprised myself because I didn't expect this sort of reaction. So that's what I said. When people they hear, even if they don't understand, But still they sit and listen. Something may happen beyond the understanding of your intelligence. Something deeper may happen. Some movement within your heart will tell you. And of course, on the level of your intelligence, you may resist to this, but still something will happen. So that's exactly what Srila Prabhupada explains when he says that this is the origin, the source of the faith is when you associate with devotees, with advanced devotees, when you hear them, and then this understanding may come to your mind. One other funny story comes to my mind. It's not so common, so I will tell the story. It's also again about the thief. In one little kingdom in India, there was a king, and the king had a very saintly daughter. The daughter was very, very spiritual and very pure. And when she came to a marriageable age, the king asked his daughter whom she would like to have as a husband. And she said, I can only have a husband who is very spiritual. So, I will not go to any other person because I will not be able to live or respect anyone who is not spiritual. So the king, who loved his daughter very much, he announced, all these spiritual people from my kingdom come, and I will give you a lot of dowry, and I will give you a palace and this and that. Become my son-in-law. Please come. My daughter will. And no, he didn't even say about marriage. He said, "Please come." And the spiritual people came because they thought there will be some spiritual happening. They were invited by the king. They thought, oh, very good, so we will have association because everyone in the spiritual circles also values association. So they all came, and then the king came out and he announced, why, what is the reason why I called you all? Because I want to marry my daughter to one of you, and well, anyway, so and I will give a lot of wealth. So the thief, somehow or other, he knew about the plans of the king, and he thought it's a great idea. Let me put some turban and some nice red clothes and some tilak, and I will come and, I will have my rosary in my hands and, let me try to get some reward from the king. So he came with all these, other sannyasis and sadhus and spiritual people. So, and then when the king announced this, that this is about marrying his daughter, everyone was so disgusted, And those who are sannyasis, they just immediately stood up and went out. Stormed out. And others who were grihastas or whatever, they were polite, so they remained. And the king started approaching them. Would you like to marry my daughter? And he said, no, I'm not interested in marrying anyone. I just want to remain recluse, and I want to do my tapasya, and I have my spiritual goal. And he approached somebody else and somebody else. And thief is there, and he's waiting the moment when the king approaches him, and he's just counting, and this will refuse or not, this will refuse or not. He just wants when his turn comes. And one after another, everyone is saying, no, I'm not interested in this, wealth. Why should I need it? I'm happy myself. And then ultimately, the king comes to the thief. And he says, would you like to marry my daughter? He says, why should I marry your daughter? I'm not interested in it. Why should I waste my time? he was infected by listening all these sadhus. And in the meantime, he was completely converted. And that's how it is. So that's what is going on. And therefore, therefore Krishna says here that, you need to have faith to achieve the goal of this pursuit. And as we know, the faith is just the beginning. Faith is the first stage. Then the faith brings us to sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha means the sadhu sangha has to be before faith. Faith, again, is a very rational understanding of the logic of the scriptures. That's another aspect of what faith is. Faith is the logical understanding of why this path is correct path, why this is the best path. So, because there are different kinds of faith. Our acharyas explain that there is Shastriya Shraddha and there is Lokika Shraddha. Lokika Shraddha basically means superstition. It's just, the normal, when people believe in something, and they believe in Krishna, they believe in Narayan, they believe in Shiva, and they don't really know the difference, and they also believe in Ganesha, of course. Ganesha is very important. But there is Lokika Shraddha means a lot of superstitions. Lokika Shraddha means I believe because my father believed, because my mother believed, because my family believed, because this is my family tradition. That's Lokika Shraddha. There's not much value in this Shraddha. And the Shastriya Shraddha means you understand Shastra. You understand Shastra because you heard Shastra from a sadhu. You heard Shastra from a sadhu, you understood the logic of the Shastra, you understood how right it is, and as a result of it, the enthusiasm to follow this path appears within your heart. That's what Shraddha is. Shraddha means enthusiasm to follow. Shraddha means the vigor, the energy to follow this path and to overcome the obstacles. So, and therefore the ladder is explained very elaborately. Shraddha is the first, sadhu sangha is the very first step when we get Shraddha. And then we start listening consistently, and the consistent listening creates consistent faith. Shastriya Shraddha, the proper faith in the logic of the Shastra. Then the desire to serve and to associate with the sadhus in a more productive way appears. We understand that, I already got so much from him. If I come closer to him, and if I enter into some deeper relationship with him, he will help me in many, many other areas to overcome my problems. So that's sadhu sangha. Then after sadhu sangha, the bhajana kriya starts, the desire to actually do something in the service of the Lord. And it basically means to hear about Krishna regularly, to hear Bhagavad Gita, to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, to hear Ramayana, to hear Mahabharata, to hear all the scriptures, because this is the main service of the Lord. When Srila Prabhupada says devotional service, it doesn't mean some difficult thing. It means just hearing about the Lord and developing the attraction to Him. Because by hearing about the Lord, we purify our heart from the rust of material samskaras, impressions which are there. We don't feel attraction to the Lord. The Lord is by nature very attractive. Therefore, He is called Rama. Therefore, He is called Krishna. Rama means who is full of bliss. Krishna means the most attractive. That's the name of God. So, but why we are not attracted? Because there is too much rust of material experience within our heart. As much as the rusty iron is not attracted to the magnet. And you have to really wash away the rust, then the attraction will be there. In the same way, again and again and again we should hear. Bhagavad Gita is so beautiful. You can hear Bhagavad Gita again and again and again, as if you are hearing it for the first time. And every time you will find something new. I've been giving lectures on this verse. I don't know how many lectures on this verse I gave, probably around dozen lectures. I don't know, but at least 5-7 lectures on this verse. And it's always something different. Something which is coming, when you are speaking. So Bhagavad Gita is inexhaustible. You can hear Bhagavad Gita again and again and again. And again and again and again find some new insights and some new understandings which is confirmed by you. What to speak about Srimad Bhagavatam or Ramayana. Today in the morning we were talking about just one verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, which was quite interesting for me to understand. Anyways, so this commitment to do devotional service regularly, which means to hear regularly, to hear with some commitment, is very important, because no relationship works without commitment. If people come together and they're somehow or other attracted to each other, and they want to experiment in living with each other, but they internally don't have any. And Shraddha means that I take this commitment, and then I go further and I start listening more and more in a committed way, and chant more and more in a committed way, and the commitment helps me to ultimately achieve the Lord. He says very clearly, aprapyamam nivartante. If there is no commitment, you will never achieve me. Commitment has to be there. So this is the commitment is coming from listening. We understand, I need it. I need it. This is necessary for me. This is something which is very important, something which is I'm lacking now, and to be fulfilled, to feel satisfied in life, I have to enter into more committed relationship on the spiritual path, and then ultimately achieve Krishna and leave this vicious circle of birth and death, birth and death, birth and death, mrityu samsara vartmani, which is only possible if you are determined to follow this path. I guess that's it. Been talking too long. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Yes, Lalitana Prabhu.
Prabhupada uses the words doubts and misgivings, and in Collins Dictionary, misgivings just means doubts, but Prabhupada uses them still. Can you elaborate? What is the difference, please, according to
I don't think there is any difference, but sometimes for the emphasis, you may repeat two synonyms together. It's just an emphatic construction, which does not necessarily meant to distinguish between these two words. I think it's the same. It's just for the sake of emphasis. If you show me the context, we may try to think about it. But as far as I can understand, he uses these two words interchangeably. And of course, in Sanskrit, there are many words for doubt. One word is samshaya. Another word is shanka. The word samshaya is very interesting. Uh, the prefix sam means completely, perfectly, and the prefix and the root shai, the root shi means to sleep. So it's a very interesting concept. Samshaya is the doubt, is the condition when you have two opposite ideas about the same thing. Or, you have contradictory understandings of what you should do. And because, one is pulling in this direction, another is pulling in that direction, you are in between and you're not moved, neither in this direction nor in that direction. And because you are stationed and you're not moving anywhere, you just sleep being in this position. Samshaya means you go to sleep because you cannot decide what is right and what is wrong. So, so yes, doubts are not good. Doubts are bad. And we have to overcome doubts ultimately, but faith is necessary to overcome doubts. But between the doubts and misgivings, I don't think there's anything.
I think it's based in verse 1 to 21.
Uh.
Jante Sarva Samshaya, Prabhupada says misgivings both.
Uh.
So maybe in the sense of an art.
Yeah. Sometimes, yes, Prabhupada uses misgivings in a very interesting way. He sometimes even translates anartha as misgiving. So doubts is a result of our previous experience in the material world, or the attachments which we developed by being in the material world. We developed certain attachments, certain misconceptions, certain wrong ideas, and we are not only developed this, but we are attached to these ideas. And because we are attached to these ideas, it's very difficult for us to part with all this, and they create doubts in our spiritual path, because they always pull us in the opposite direction. They always say, no, it's not so bad, Anyway, so many people are dying, so what's the big deal? You will also die, no problem. Okay.
I have two questions. Guru Maharaj, you said that Shraddha comes when you have a peaceful heart, when you feel it. So, does it, what it means, peaceful heart? Something about sattva guna?
Yeah.
And should we make some effort to achieve this, or but this
No.
sadhusanga is more important?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, there is no need to achieve it by separate efforts. It's just when you associate with sadhus who are very determined and who are very fixed up, you feel peacefulness in the heart. You feel that, you may have so many anxieties, so many, again, doubts or misgivings. But then when you see somebody, you feel that the heart is peaceful. The intelligence may be revolting, the mind may be not liking, but the heart is saying, no, it's okay. So it's not a separate means.
Second question about this: when we hear sadhu, yes, we understand, like yes, like maybe like we feel, like you said, there is experience behind, so we feel it, and we feel also enthusiasm. But when we go away, or when we start doing something, it's also maybe little tinge is left, but not much ordinary. So why is that? And also how to?
Because it's not your experience, it's his experience. You get the shadow of his experience. You get the little spark of his experience, and you kind of experienced his experience.
So we should collect by little things.
Yeah. You should collect, but also try to achieve this experience on your own.
But why sometimes we get more, sometimes less? I mean, what can we do to get more ourselves?
Sometimes you are more prepared to get his experience, sometimes you're less prepared to get his experience. Sometimes he may be speaking about something very high and you're not really ready to, open your heart to this. And sometimes he's speaking something which is more accessible to you. So there are different explanations. Yes. Yeah.
Just want to ask, how can we then recognize spiritual experience on our own? Because it might be also tricky that it could be our mind tricks or just sentiments.
If you're doubtful, most probably it was not a spiritual experience. Because the nature of the experience in the mind, which is given to us by imagination, is very flickering, very flimsy. You have something is there, and you're not sure. You feel good, but you're not sure whether it's something real or not. The spiritual experience, the nature of real spiritual experience is that it's much more vivid than this shadowy experience which is given to us by our mind or imagination. Yes, we can imagine many things, but usually it's not, it's very much different from the real spiritual experience. And of course, sometimes you really encounter some miracles, something which normally should not happen happens. And of course, even in this case, you start doubting, maybe it is a coincidence. But anyway, little by little, it becomes more and more profound.
Maharaj, can you please define what is spiritual experience? Whether it's experience of rasa or something else?
No, spiritual experience means experience which is coming not from your sensual perception and not from your mind. Something which is coming from beyond, something which you have never experienced by your senses, by interacting of your senses with the sense objects, and something which you never experienced in the mind. It may be very deep emotion, when you broke in tears or something like this. It's when you experience something which is beyond the range of normal experience. We all know the range of normal experience is there. But when you experience something which you're not supposed to experience at this moment of time and which is far beyond what you're supposed to, feel or experience now, then there is a good chance that this is coming from some other plane. Yeah, mystical experience also beyond, yeah. Yeah, and there are many. It's a very wide category of experiences, and therefore we are not specifying. When we are talking about bhakti, it's more specific, but it's not proper time to speak about this more specific experiences in bhakti. In normal yoga, yes, people, they create some miracles, they develop some mystical abilities, they can read the minds of people, hear what they think, and stuff like this, yeah. That's also spiritual, or sometimes sub-spiritual. It's not necessarily, it may be subtly, but I'm just lumping it all together, because something which is extraordinary, extra natural, supernatural. Yes.
You said that you decided to make experiment when you just started to practice. And I believe that even if not consciously, we all kind of, when we start, we are experimenting. But for some people, this experiment doesn't turn out as well as, for example, for you, people leave or they don't develop this strong natural faith. So from your long experience and this long experiment, what you would see as the biggest impediment or biggest fault in experimentation of others that it fails?
They don't, if you make a scientific experiment in a laboratory, in a lab, you have to very clearly define the conditions of the experiment and the desired goal. If you don't define the desired goal, the desired outcome, and if you don't very clearly, define the conditions, then most probably it will fail, because you don't even know what the outcome should be, and you expect something and it doesn't come. So I didn't expect much from my experiment. I very clearly said, if I will not get bored by this process, I will continue. So in the beginning, I didn't get something very far out and very so but then I did many other experiments with some other desired outcomes. Not always they worked, but but I had some conviction in the meantime.
But it doesn't need some specific, because experiment, as I understand, we need to have like some goal and also maybe time frame. Okay, if I
As I said, you have to define the terms of the experiment, the conditions. You have to define, I am going to do it like this, and you have to also study what the scriptures recommend. To get the experience, you have to do it like, for that long, uninterruptedly or whatever. Otherwise, if you are doing just, without any commitment, as I said, then it will fail for sure. But so many people didn't fail. They're all in this room, so or at least some of them are in this room. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Shri Bhakti Ganga Swami Maharaj. Jai. Shri Prabhupada.